This is a longer video than I normally do, but I encourage you guys to stay with it and watch all the way through because I really covered a lot of key points for those who are struggling with a sense of identity. So in this video, I cover how I struggled with knowing myself and how it affected my life, what a strong sense of identity truly is, systems that I use to find my sense of self, including the MBTI, Enneagram, Astrology, and Numerology, all explained thoroughly in this video, what our true sense of self is in the end, and practical tips on how to implement these tools now. If you feel like you don't know who you are, you're lost on where to go in life because you don't know what you like or what you're good at, or like you're constantly struggling because emotional awareness or even self-awareness simply is hard, this video was made for you. Okay, my dryer finally finished running and everyone has left my trailer, which means it's time to film. Welcome back to the Be the Hero channel. I'm Isabelle and I help you understand yourself so you can feel more clarity and control over your life. Now, I'm sure that if you're searching for the topic of how to find your identity and that my intro resonates with you. And before I dive into this video covering identity, especially how to find your identity, what identity really is, and how you can align with that to feel more not only grounded in your sense of self, but also more confident going through life, make sure you hit the link in the description below where we dive deep in a 1-hour reading into your unique personality combination. If you're struggling to find your sense of self, or you feel like you keep trying different things, but you can't feel that sense of, I know who I am, I know my identity, these readings are perfect for you. So hit the link in the description below to book a reading with me. Now, identity. Now, this is a topic that basically all of my videos revolves around because I was a kid who really struggled with the concept of self-identity. Probably simply because I was around a lot of loud personalities growing up. And so my sense of self, which seemed to be so tame, seemed lacking in comparison to most people's, which has now led me to have this channel and be obsessed with personality types, psychology, and more, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But really, growing up, I felt this sense of, and even now, every now and then, especially throughout my teen years, I felt this sense of who the heck am I? Which is a potential title that I'm thinking of for a book that I want to write. Who the TF am I? So I've always struggled with self-identity. I moved through life feeling like I didn't know who I was, and that really affected me in the sense of my self-confidence. It really affected, too, my life direction. So I felt like I didn't know where I wanted to go in life or where I was supposed to go because I didn't really know what my strengths were, what my talents were. I didn't know what I needed. I didn't know how I felt. Really, basically, any aspect of myself, it felt hard to really say that those things were truth because I felt basically so susceptible to opinions and also didn't know what it felt like to go, this is me. So I could be like, even identifying emotions was kind of hard for me, or embodying what was going on in my head. Am I worried? Am I anxious? Am I overthinking? The question, am I blank, often surfaced in my head. Which reminds me, I do want to share a little poem at the end that I wrote about this topic years ago that I think will resonate for you guys. But first, I want to talk about, so now that you know a little bit of my story, look, I get it. Not knowing your sense of identity and not feeling like you know yourself is hard. And basically not being able to feel like you have a sense of self really can be the root of all struggle because it can make it feel like it's really hard to move through life, know where to go, know what your talents are, know what your strengths are. And I think those who can chameleonize and are more of people pleasers may feel this more, but especially with how many labels are thrown around in society, whatever we identify as, he, she, they, knowing whether you are ADHD, bipolar, all these labels that get thrown around, honestly, I feel like has thrown us somehow even more, because we're in a way, we're like, it feels like we're given the label, or we pick a label and then we're like, now what? And so I wanted to share some of the things personally that has helped me find my sense of self, know myself, and really embody a strong sense of self, so that now I can move through life after learning these skills and feel unshakable. I feel way more self-confident. I feel just joyous and excited. I know what I want to do. I know what my direction is, and I know how to catch myself when I'm feeling down. I know what I need. I know what I desire. The benefits of helping me understand myself have been huge. And this is not, I want to clarify, the only way to understand yourself or know yourself. This is just the method that has helped me as someone who basically found that the idea of discovering yourself and knowing yourself was very broad, and I needed more clear instructions. So if you wish that the idea of knowing yourself was more clear and had more direct steps, here's my direct step approach that I took that helped me. But the first thing I want to cover before that is for those who feel like you don't know your sense of self. If you're lacking a sense of knowing yourself, if you're looking for a sense of self-identity, if you're asking yourself, who the heck am I? I bet this is really resonant for people who have been trying to date and have failed. But if you're just someone who's asking yourself, who am I? If you're trying to know yourself, I want you to know the advice that I would have given myself years ago, which is identity is overrated. And here's what I mean by that. It is important to know yourself, but to think of it as a sense of identity can be misleading, because we as people are subject to change. We grow. And so while you may find labels which can help you find your sense of identity, it's possible that those will change. How we feel changes. Our emotions are always changing. Our beliefs are changing, especially if we're doing self-growth work. And our opinions are what we value can change through time as we have different experiences. So as you listen to this video, my hope is that I can help you find a sense of identity that can be more stable, that is less changing, and what I've found I can latch onto, so to say, and let go of. Because, like I said, identity itself is overrated. And this ties into my video I did yesterday on the sacral chakra, which I know for some people just looking into identity think it's irrelevant, but I'll put it up here, and I'm doing kind of a gestured movement more so I can easily find this when I go to edit the video, on the sacral chakra, because this plays a role too. To summarize shortly, and why I think this is important for you to know, the sacral chakra is an energy hub in our bodies that forms when we're in our teen years. And it implies that this is where we cultivate a sense of identity, how we observe self in the world. We have, before then, more of a sense of identifying with our parents. Our parents are our providers. And then when we hit our teen years, we want to individuate. And the sacral chakra implies how the healthiest way to do that is through creative expression, to just express yourself, find passion, and embody your emotions. Your sense of self in the end is going to be something that's less linear. It's not going to be a label, because when we label ourselves, we will then find that we are misleading ourselves. And this is something I've experienced. The more I've tried to directly label or attach to one label, the more I felt unfulfilled, because then I'm abandoning parts of myself. So that's why I use a lot of different systems. So I'm going to present them all to you and explain why I like them. And how it can help you understand yourself and know yourself. But in the end, reminder that the best way to know yourself, you'll finally feel like you know yourself when you no longer attach to one thing. And this is a process. So here's what I use, but keep that in mind. So first and foremost, one of the things that I discovered that really helped me know myself, and I'll go through in order of what I discovered. So when I was 14, I discovered the MBTI, the Myers-Briggs typing indicator, which let me know in the comments below if you already know about and what your type is. I'm telling you right now, you're probably not an INFJ. Everyone thinks they are, but it's because we all see ourselves as more creative than we are, which is not to say that, we're not all creative, but more so, it's a different brain function. The Myers-Briggs is based off of how our brain is trained to work. So it is how we think. And knowing my Myers-Briggs for me helped me see my strengths, which was really a good start for me for knowing myself. At 14, I was really isolated from the world, so to say. I was full-time traveling with my family. I started that when I was 11, and being away from peers was both a blessing, but also I saw it as a curse a little bit because I didn't have anyone to compare myself to, and I just didn't have any point of reference, I suppose. So I think that is why I struggled a little more with knowing my strengths. So the Myers-Briggs told me what my cognitive functions were and my external personality, how I appeared to others. So I am an ISTP, and it took me a few tries to get to that. I first thought I was an INFP, and then I thought I was an INTP, which were both incorrect because while I'm a very creative person, I'm not an intuitive type. And intuitive types are able to create big jumps and connect dots. Now, while I do literally connect dots for my work in the sense of personality, I'm an S type because I observe the world and gather from things that I can see more than I can gather from and imagine things up. So knowing whether you're an S or N type is really huge. And I think there's way more S types in the world than N. After all, I do know that 16 personalities says that ISTJs make up 15% of the population, whereas INFJs make up less than 4%, I believe. And this is, again, kind of hard to tell because tests are hard to do. So I recommend you do the test with someone else. But Myers-Briggs is one thing that helped me know myself because it shows you your brain function. So you may get numbers like INTP, or ISTP, like I did. But within that, there are cognitive functions. So for example, I'm TISE. NIFE, and I'm sure you're already getting overwhelmed with the amount of letter combinations I'm throwing at you. ESTJINTPQRSWXYZ. So basically, to summarize, the Myers-Briggs shows you how you act with the world. It shows you basically the simplest form, I guess, of your personality based off of your brain wiring. And if you want to understand more on once you take a test, I'm sure you're going to once I tell you to look at the Myers-Briggs, which I recommend. Take the test with someone you know. And we have a personality mistyping course that you can access on Be the Hero, our free membership. This is the easiest way to get to it. So if you hit the link below, you can join Be the Hero, where we have a free precision personality hacker course that helps you identify your Myers-Briggs and also the Enneagram, which I'll get to next. And it'll tell you about the cognitive functions, and we have quick summaries on which function is. I created these to try to be as simple as possible, but as cohesive and in-depth as possible. So you can access that by going to Be the Hero Academy, our free group membership. You can find the Precision Personality Hacker there. So the Myers-Briggs, great for knowing your brain function, identifying your strengths and weaknesses, and knowing how introverted you are versus extroverted. One thing that was consistent when I did the Myers-Briggs was I was introverted no matter what. And the thing that you want to keep in mind with the Myers-Briggs is that it's a scale, not a black and white answer. So when you take, for example, on 16 personalities, I personally prefer Truity's test. But when I did the test on 16 personalities, it gives you a scale of introversion and extroversion, a scale of thinking and feeling. And whichever is dominant is what your brain dominantly goes to. Think of your brain like highways. And so basically we have dominant highways that are formed based off of what we are rewarded for in childhood for using. What we naturally tend towards. And really, your astrology, which I'll get to later, really does kind of limit you to a few different Myers-Briggs types, which is an interesting idea to think about of your personality as a byproduct of reality, but also your destiny, so to say. But so one thing to keep in mind is we probably tend to type, I think, as more extroverted, I would say. Because that is the external function people see more. So it's possible, like my dad, He is the most introverted person I know, as far as the sense of he does not like interacting with new people, but people think he's extroverted because he loves to show up as, very put together. His extroverted function shows up more. So the reason I bring this up is so that whether you're labeled with introvert or extrovert, thinking or feeling, you're capable of it all. You just have a dominant one. And knowing your dominant one can help you identify your strengths and your weaknesses and where you can grow. And so the Myers-Briggs helps you know your strengths, but also know your growth. For me, I know I have a weakness for seeing into the future. I don't project very well, or when I project into worry. And so the Myers-Briggs helps me do that. Secondly, the next thing that I discovered that helped me know myself more was the Enneagram. And the Enneagram is a much touchier thing to look into, much more sensitive than the Myers-Briggs. The Myers-Briggs is more fun, I would say. It kind of is more of an objective look at yourself, where you can go, yep, that sounds about like my strengths. And the Myers-Briggs, by the way, can really help you find a good career, in my view. The Enneagram, though, shows us our childhood wound. And it is even harder to test for, which is why we have it in the Precision Personality Hacker course, which you can get in Be the Hero for free, or in our free membership. I'm not entirely sure if it's free, but if you need help identifying your Enneagram and Myers-Briggs, then just book a reading in the link in the description below, and I can type you and help you figure out what it is. This is not me just slapping a label on you. This is the discussion so that you feel good in the end about knowing yourself. So you can book in the link in the description below. But the Enneagram is harder to type because it's even more our unconscious wound. Everyone has programming, and in the extreme, we call this trauma. The brain, interesting fact, as far as I've heard, stores trauma all the same way, no matter how big or small. But I think based off of how extreme the trauma is, it's harder to emotionally overcome. So everyone has this trauma/programming, same thing. Those highways in the brain. And the Enneagram shows us what our core belief is, basically. So this programming is our core childhood belief. And to quickly go over them, you can close your eyes and think, which of these resonates the most? I have to be perfect in order to be loved. I have to be selfless in order to be loved. I have to be the best in order to be loved. I have to be different in order to be loved. I have to be capable in order to be loved. I have to be loyal in order to be loved. I have to be fun in order to be loved. I have to be strong in order to be loved. And I have to be easy in order to be loved. So pick on the list 1 through 9. I listed 9 there. Which one resonated the most? And the Enneagram types 1 through 9 are named the number. So I'm an Enneagram 9. I have to be easy in order to be loved. And with that comes personality traits. With the Enneagram as well, it shows us our wing behaviors. So I discovered the Enneagram when I was 15. And I mistyped for a while. I thought I was a 4, and then I thought I was a 5, which turns out my tri-types. But that is something, the tri-type is not something you need to get into for a while. Identifying your Enneagram is hard because it's unconscious, but looking into most likely the number, I have a blog too on makingmindfulnessfun.com on common Enneagram mistypes. If you are a woman who types as an 8, you're most likely a 6, maybe even a 1. If you are a man who types himself as a 7, you're most likely a 4. And if you type yourself as a 3 as a man, you're most likely actually a 7. And female, if you identify, or if you type as a 4 or a 5, you might be a 9. So that's kind of just a quick overview of what I've noticed. But by knowing my Enneagram, it helped me identify what my wound was. But it wasn't for the sake of just saying, oh my God, this is my wound. Here's why I'm a victim. My parents suck. Society sucks. It helped me find growth and identify my desires. So not only does the Enneagram say, this is your wound, it says, this is your wound, and this has now created what gives you fulfillment. So the core wound equals our core desire. So as a 9 who believes personally I need to be easy at my core, it means that my core desire is harmony. And so if I'm constantly facing a lot of conflict, that's going to be hard for me. This also helps me grow myself by identifying that belief. Anytime conflict comes up, I can go, okay, this is my Enneagram wound being triggered. and I feel the need to shy away from conflict and be easy, but instead I need to face this fear. I'm not going to be rejected by facing conflict. So Enneagram helps us identify the programming that drives us all. And I kind of go into this and how it affects our dating life in a video on, labeled it something like your trauma, stop repeating patterns in dating, letting go of trauma in dating, because like I said, trauma is something we all have, but it's labeled, I prefer to call it programming. So the Enneagram helps us with that, and we can see how those patterns repeat in our dating life. I'll pin it up here somewhere. But the Enneagram not only helps me identify my past wounds and how it's affecting me now, but Enneagram also is a great system personally that helped me know myself because it shows us our growth. One thing to note about the note of identity, and I hope that when I put this into Opus clips later to make myself some shorter clips for YouTube Shorts, that it captures this. One thing to note about identity. Your sense of self will always feel incomplete if you're basing it off of who you are and who you were. The reason we oftentimes feel unfulfilled in our sense of identity, or like we're constantly having to shift identities, is because we're forgetting the essential aspect of who we are, which is who we want to be. Part of who we are is what we are aiming for. And so if we don't have a desire to grow, if we're not thinking about what we want to grow into, if we're not seeing our limitations and actively working through them, we're going to feel unfulfilled. So ask yourself, how can I grow? Or what do I want to grow to be? Who do I want to become? And that is one reason I like the Enneagram, because the Enneagram tells us not only who we were and who we now are because of who we were, but it gives us a direction on who we are going to become. If you go to, again, makingmindfulnessfun.com, I have blogs that show what the Enneagram looks like. It has a system. It's like a triangle with two half triangles. It almost looks like, I guess it's a pentagram. That's wrong, obviously. I'm thinking about how many technically points it has. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is pentagram? I think pentagrams, I sound like an idiot right now. I know, I'm going to embrace it. I can't even remember what the word is for the geometric shape that has 7 sides. It has 7 points on it. Whatever. I'm just my brain's not functioning, guys. I'm kind of sick right now and my brain's foggy. But it has obviously 9 points because there's 9 Enneagram types, but it looks like a pentagram at first glance to me. So the point is, there's lines, and they each Enneagram type grows towards a different number in growth. Basically the most uncomfortable thing for us to do that helps us feel more unlimited and complete. And then we have a stress number, what we go towards in stress. I actually have a paper right here that I want to grab that my mom brought over for me. It's a paper I made in our Enneagram Growth Hacker, which is another workbook you can get to help you understand not only your type and your self-care, but also what you need for growth. And that is what's included in what I called my self-care bingo. It includes what we need for our core desire and also what we need in order to feel complete and tap into our growth in simple steps, as well as our wings. So for me, I know I have on here to set goals, but I also need to practice healthy self-assertion and release my anger and also have harmony time. So the Enneagram Growth Hacker is really cool too. You can check that out. Probably the easiest way to get it is by getting the Making Mindfulness Fun bundle, which this workbook alone has $30 value, but in the bundle, you get access to 30 different workbooks for $15. So you can get that in the link in the description below. I'll make sure it's pinned. This is going to be a long video, but luckily you guys said you like 30-minute videos. For those who said they don't like 30-minute videos, I apologize. But this is really, I'm trying to be very elaborate in sharing all the things that help me know my sense of identity, because not just one of these would give me a whole picture of what I am. All of these have helped me along the way. And if I just stuck with one, I would have felt lacking. So the Myers-Briggs helped me, and the Enneagram helped me see my growth. Then another thing that I discovered, which was much more complex, which is why I offer readings, is astrology. Now, if you are anti-astrology, hear me out. Or if you feel like astrology is just, okay, I'm a Taurus, I'm a Virgo, whatever. The idea, first of all, is that imagine that the universe took a screenshot when you were born, the moment you came out of the womb, into the world. That is your energetic imprint. All the planets, not just the sun, the moon, Jupiter, Uranus, we're all in different spots when you were born, and they influence your personality. These are energies we can tap into, and oftentimes we get forced, so to say, or get comfortable with just one. And so that's when we start to feel like we don't know ourselves because we don't know these other aspects of ourselves. Or when we feel like emotions are confusing. We don't understand why it's so hard for us to learn. We don't know how to make money, what kind of career we should go into. Astrology, our birth chart, as I've just described, the stamp on us, really gives us a lot of potential answers. And you don't have to believe in astrology in order to see this as beneficial. I personally do not believe Mercury being in retrograde has any effect on my life. I just look at my birth chart and go, if this is true, how does it help me? And looking at my birth chart for me, which I started doing around 14, but then really truly revisited probably when I was 17, helped me a lot, specifically in understanding why I felt the need to be so loud in some settings, but then drew back, and also understanding my emotions. Basically, it really showed me why I struggled to have healthy relationships, both friendships and with anyone I meet, any kind of relationship. Because, for example, your moon sign, if you just know your moon sign, your life is going to feel a lot easier, which is why I have the Moon Sign Self-Care Workbook, which explains your moon sign, that you can also access in the astrology bundle. So if you want to just get this stuff related to astrology, I have the astrology bundle, or you can get the Making Mindfulness Fun bundle to learn about the Enneagram, or you can join Be the Hero for free, where you can simply find all of this. We have all these things in multiple spots so that they are easy to find anywhere. The first way and easiest way to find these workbooks and resources, that's the word I was looking for, is through the bundles linked in the description below. But your moon sign shows you what your emotional patterns are, as well as what you need for emotional fulfillment, similar to your Enneagram. But there are basically 24 different combinations you can have. Did I do that right? You have 12 different signs and 12 different houses you can be in. Again, I sound like an idiot, guys. Math is not my specialty. Geometry is not my specialty. Personality is my specialty. Psychology. So you have a different, for me, my moon's in Cancer, which means that I am very emotionally sensitive and err on the side of needing to be very connected to people because it's in my 7th house of relationships, one-on-one partnerships. Hence my relationship choices over the last few years, or the last year. If you've been watching my channel and seeing all my relationship videos, this will make sense to you, especially if you know about astrology. But, so your moon sign really tells you what your emotions are, and that can be a huge help and has helped me a lot know myself, because really what my birth chart did was help me see how I'm not just one identity. I have multiple different parts of myself. I have many different parts of myself that show up in different areas of my life. You know, to maybe in dating, I seem spitfire, but with my family, I seem very quiet. Or in my relationships, my closest relationships, I am the most sensitive, delicate person. So astrology really helped me see how I'm a multifaceted person and find a sense of identity and sense of self that is interchangeable. And because of that, I felt less like my sense of identity was fragile. The more of an expansive sense of identity we can have, the less fragile we feel, because we aren't relying on this one thing, so to say. It's like, actually, the way you can think of it is, imagine that you have a house built on like a platform. And if the house was sitting on one singular stick, it would be very fragile. Now, the more of a built-up structure we can make, the more stable the house foundation becomes, the more stable it can be. And so the more we can have multiple things to pull upon for a sense of identity without attachment to one singular one, the more they can work together, the more sense of self, strong sense of self we can find. So with astrology, with Enneagram, with the Myers-Briggs, these all play together. I noticed that when I read my chart, my birth chart in astrology, there was a lot of similarities between that and what it said my strengths were. As my Myers-Briggs said, there was a lot in my moon sign that I could see in my Enneagram type. These all seem to work together and be almost destined together. So if you're feeling like you're struggling with your sense of self, ask yourself, what if who I was destined? What if I was born to be exactly as I am? And that is where we get into the final one, final personality system that really helped me embrace a higher vibration of who I am. And there's more than these systems, guys. Again, this does not have to be your end-all be-all answer, but there is a book called The Life You Were Born to Live by Dan Millman. And let me tell you, that book was given to my mom by, a bartender at a brewery, who's a great woman. And I don't think she follows this channel, but she'll know who she is if she's following. That book changed my life because basically it's called The Life You Were Born to Live, which is the idea of numerology, that the date you were born has meaning. You add up the digits of your birth in singular digits. So for me, 0 plus 3 plus 2 plus 8 plus 2 plus 0 plus 0 plus 4 equals 19. And then you take that number, 1 plus 9, 19, and that equals 10. So you'd write it 19/10. Those numbers 0 through 9, or not 1 through 0, I guess you could say, have a meaning that implies what your talents are and your mission in life. For me, I'm a naturally creative and confident person, and I am here to embrace that and inspire others to live their life to the fullest by expressing my creativity, leading with confidence, and not trying to point the finger and say, you should do this, but just share my experience, lead by example, which is why I'm saying that this is what's helped me know myself. This doesn't have to be for you. Knowing my Myers-Briggs, knowing my Enneagram, knowing my astrology birth chart, knowing my numerology, all these things have helped me find a sense of self that is not grounded in just one thing, but in many things. And so all of these systems you can learn about first and foremost in a reading. I cover all of these in 1 hour and use it so that you can not just, say, here's all your labels, there you go, but seeing how they apply to your life and how they can help you. But all these things have helped me go, okay, if this is true, how does this apply to me? Writing out, like examples of when I see these qualities and what is my growth? Again, like I said, part of who we are is not just who we were or who we are, but it's what we want to be. And maybe that's just more for me as an Enneagram 9, because, 9s are said to struggle the most with identity in a sense. They see themselves in everything, but also because my growth is a 3. I'm supposed to grow to be more goal-driven. So maybe for me, it means more that I have to think about who I want to be. But maybe if you're a 3, an Enneagram 3, you probably more feel like, I already know who I want to be, but you don't maybe accept yourself for who you are right now. Maybe for you, your sense of self will be found more in softening and learning about your moon sign, learning about your Enneagram, learning about what your values are in your day-to-day life. We are, in the end, who we are is built off of what we do, what we think and believe, how we feel, and what we value. And this is usually how we structure our sense of self in the material reality. In the end, I believe that we are all simply just love, because when we attain everything in life, when we feel like we're truly at our best, we are just pure love. We are a vibration. We are more than this body. We are more than this personality that we've been astrologically or imprinted upon or built upon by society. But if you're trying to find a sense of self, given the fact that we live in a material world, you'll find that your sense of self is built upon who you are, what you value, what you think, and what you feel. By attaching to just what you look like or what group you identify with will end up leaving you feeling unfulfilled. And I share that because that's what I've learned from experience. I've tried to say that I'm an artist, I'm a swing dancer, which is country swing, not a swinger, as many people have misinterpreted, which is kind of embarrassing. I'm not a traveler just, and that's why, on that note, I want to see if I can find, I'm propped up against my computer, guys. see if I can find a poem that I wrote about this, because I feel like it is just the icing on the cake on what I'm trying to convey to you guys. Now I'm going to keep trying to find it. Oh, I know where I can find it, but the point is, stay with me because I really think this is a last piece that you guys will like. I just have to go to my Google Drive and find it. So think about all these systems. I highly recommend you look into them. The one thing that I like about astrology above all the others is that it is objective, so to say. It is both subjective and objective in the sense that you don't have to test what your astrology chart is. It's just based off of when you were born. So you don't have to go so deeply into, the typing and trying to figure out if you typed right. But I will say that the Myers-Briggs and the Enneagram still really do hold nice value, especially because they show what we are based off of. I found the poem. Okay. Based off of what society's made us. So look into them all, and if you want help finding them, book a reading or join Be the Hero for free, where we have resources on all of this. So the last thing I want to share is a poem based off of if you're struggling with sense of identity. And I know my video is getting a little long, but I'll be finished after this. So if you are struggling with a sense of self, maybe this will resonate for you. Every day I wake up and I stare at my reflection, trying to figure out what I truly am and what if it is just a projection. I've never known who I am if I'm emptiness at my core, and I've searched the world end to end to discover if I am more. People say I am funny, so maybe funny is who I am. My family says I'm beautiful, and astrology says I'm the ram. I write these things on my mirror to memorize what makes me me, and as the world tells me more of what I am, my own reflection gets harder to see. They say that I'm a mindfulness coach, a musician, an artist, their best friend. They give me all these I am labels, then I never see them again. I have no more room on the mirror to write out who I am. Panicking that I'm back where I'm started, I'm no more than a shallow scam. I look back up at the mirror and see a sliver of my own eyes, and that was the moment I realized I had woven a web of lies. Who I am isn't outside of me, it never was from the start. It's not a label, a title, a personality type, or a chart. I'm frustrated with myself at all the time I spent living in the 2D, so I find a brick on the floor and throw it at what I thought defined me. The mirror shatters and falls with a loud crash and a sigh. Gone are all the things I thought defined me, destroyed is the web of lies. It felt painful to throw that brick, to destroy my perfect identity, but now with the mirror gone, all that is left is me. I may be funny, beautiful, talented, a coach, and kind, aggressive, giving, a peacemaker, ISTP, MBTI. But that is not who I am. I am is a simple term meant to be left as it is, not I'm a teen, a barista, or the middle child of 5 kids. Who I am cannot be defined. It's simply my existence core. It's the ground that I can return to when people don't tell me who I am anymore. I am is my reminder when I start to feel alone. I am is my mantra to remind me I am home. I am more than what you think of me because I am indescribable, so don't try to control me with your dumb and phony title. I am, and that is all, and what a relief too, because adding to the end of that statement will only take you further from the true you. You are, that is all. I am, and that's all I have to be. Don't try to tell yourself anything different. Break that mirror, and you will see. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Sincerely hope you enjoyed it, and I know it's a little long, but hope it helped you find really what it means to know yourself. And if you found this video inspiring or you have any more questions, let me know in the comments below, and I would love to hear from you. If you would like a shorter video breaking this down, let me know as well. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and stay tuned for more videos breaking down yourself. Once again, my name is Isabelle, and from my heart to yours, namaste.